So here we are back with the top 10 greatest F1 drivers of all time list, and following the previous videos, I think it's obvious who the top 2 are, but in at second is 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher. He won his titles in 1994, 95 and then 5 consecutive between 2000 and 2004, in which those last 5 titles came with Ferrari, but the Schumacher-Ferrari combination wasn't always dominant in F1. He joined Ferrari in 1996, and at the time they were a team starved of success in Formula 1, and things didn't get much better until 2000, when Schumacher got their first driver's title in 21 years. So between 1996 and 1999, Schumacher wasn't given the best car on the grid, yet he still managed to win races. Schumacher's early years at Ferrari are like Lewis Hamilton's years at McLaren after 2008, where they still managed to win races despite the machinery not being the best. The best drivers always manage to win races despite not having the best cars. It's like with Ayrton Senna at Lotus. And that also applies to the wet. So as you can see, the top 3 in this list are all drivers that excelled in the wet. And one race which I think best shows Schumacher's excellence in the wet is the 1996 Spanish Grand Prix. He lost several positions from a poor start, but then in the torrential rain, he climbed his way back up the field to take the lead on lap 13, in which from then onwards he just dominated by lapping 3 seconds quicker than anybody else. Just what more can be said to emphasise Schumacher's greatness that hasn't already been told? Although he did have his downsides, which to me is why he's lost first place on this list. One of those being that in Schumacher's contracts, there would always be a clause saying that his teammate must be a number 2 driver. He didn't want to be threatened within his own team, which is fair enough. For example, if you look at Lewis Hamilton right now, you could argue that his teammate Valtteri Bottas is a number 2 driver, but in the past Hamilton has already had to deal with world champion superstar teammates Jenson Button, Fernando Alonso and Nico Rosberg for example, but each time Hamilton has dealt with the challenge and came out on top. Another one of those concerns being the 1994 Australian Grand Prix, where Michael Schumacher deliberately took himself and Damon Hill out of the race so that Schumacher could win his first world title. You can look at that one or two ways, by praising Schumacher's winning at all cost mentality, or saying that he needed to use dirty tricks to win the world title. In which 3 years later in Spain, Schumacher tried to do a similar thing for the 97 championship decider. Jacques Villeneuve was going up the inside of Schumacher, but then Schumacher deliberately turned into him to try and take Villeneuve out of the race, so that Schumacher could go on and win the championship. But that time it didn't work. Schumacher retired from the race as Villeneuve won the championship, and because of that tactic, Schumacher was disqualified from the championship that year and lost second place. And the reason this is a concern of mine is, it's like what Murray Walker said, Lewis Hamilton has never had to use tactics like this by barging drivers off track to win the titles. He's always managed to keep it clean to get what he wants, whereas Senna and Schumacher have used quite questionable tactics at times. But nevertheless, the stats still speak for themselves and show Schumacher as one of the all-time greats. And so many of these records that Schumacher does hold, whether that's most titles, most race wins, most wins with the same team, most seasons with a win, and many more, are all on the verge of being broke by one particular driver. So keep an eye out on that next video to find out why I put that certain man at number 1 on this list. But other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, visit the website f1.co.uk, and I'll see you next time.